Dear Evgeniy Nikolaevich, thank you for another wonderful live stream. You're truly one of a kind, and I congratulate you on your phenomenal European tour. Please tell me, are you planning to tour the United States? You're very much expected here. And I'd like to share with you my story, my observations, and ask for some advice. I'm 27 years old, and 4 years ago I moved to the States for a work relocation, namely to the state of Florida. While living here, I've been overwhelmed with both positive and negative occurrences. Among the latter, I would list my experience interacting with people of Latin American origin. Florida is loaded with them. Let me give you a few examples of everyday situations. One time, I hailed a taxi to go to another part of my city. A Latina driver pulled up, and let me tell you, the radio rhapsody she was blasting in that car must have exceeded 70 decibels. I politely asked her to flip to an English station.
Rhapsodies? The word you're looking for is rubbish.
But my request was ignored. A few minutes later, I received an important call. I picked up the phone and began speaking, after which she, in turn, cranked up the volume even higher so that my voice would be drowned out. Another story. Once I had an appointment at the bank to resolve some urgent issues. I was told to arrive at a certain hour, and minding punctuality, respecting my own and other people's time, I arrived 10 minutes early. While standing in line, I overheard the curious way this banker communicated with his clients. They were yucking it up about sports, the weather, fashion, and restaurants for 35 minutes straight. Afterwards, he announced that due to the bad weather, a magnetic storm or whatnot, he urgently needed a coffee and ran out to fetch one. I was left waiting another 15 minutes. These are just a few examples of the obnoxious behavior I've noticed in Latinos. I simply can't avoid it in my day-to-day. They have no regard for others or their time. They make no effort in the English language, and to put it mildly, they're not exactly beaming with intellect. Yet they feel a need to disrupt decent people's lives. Please, advise me on how to develop some patience and keep these frustrations at bay.
I get it. Spells of anger shan't be contained but are to accumulate into a constructive fray against the wicked. The stories of that young man, his encounter with the taxi driver and then with the banking fellow, are both remarkable and worthy of being acknowledged. About the taxi driver, it's word for word what Europeans, Frenchmen, Germans, Englishmen, Belgians, keep telling me about the behavior of savages, all these taxi drivers across Europe. I repeat, they hate us all. They hate us just for being on their side. A simple physiological reflex. She, that taxi woman, hates you. There is nothing we can do. You can't fix her. She just sees you, compares herself to you, and it drives her mad because she's different. Aside from her uncontrollable hatred, the swine was welcomed in and given everything. It's impossible to bring her to justice, because the moment you try to press charges, explaining how she deliberately abused your rights by turning the volume up, first, they'll say there is no such crime. Second, you may be the one facing accusations of racism and other such crap. Nowadays, the United States is contaminated by the left. Had the circumstances been favorable, she wouldn't have dared to behave in such a manner, knowing full well that had she done so, she'd face the shove and starvation. This swine, this squint criminal scum is arrogant because she knows no one will fire her. So, what course of action should you take? First, your brain must be quick. The moment you catch a whiff of that crappy music she listens to, recognize at once she's a nutcase. Next, you're on board, 3 seconds have passed, ask her to turn off the radio. If she doesn't, the ride is over. How to do it properly? First, you should get outside. It's dangerous while you're still in, for she might be a breakneck loony. So first, get out. Once that's done, you can approach her, nice and suavely, with a smile on your face, lean in a bit, and say, "You hate me, 'cause you can't be me. And you never will. And that's gonna rot your gut till the grave." Then show her the national salute. Trust me, it may seem like minor vengeance, for she ought to be deported, but it's vengeance enough to discharge every shred of bile right into her face. It's your payoff for wasted time, and she'll be raving for the next few days while your words stay etched into her brain, slicing back at her every time she remembers you. That's how things must be done. Next, file the usual complaint with the support team. Tell them how unprofessional she was, how she refused to turn down the music, and so on. Say you had a headache at the time. Then, I suppose you can check her profile in the app, find her social media, and tail the miscreant. Good chance she's already racked up a few petty violations, or maybe even posted something hateful online. The point is, you're dealing with a criminal. Her deliberate actions, how she terrorized you on the road, intentionally disturbing your phone conversation, reveal just how much she hates you and how badly she wants to hurt you. Now imagine she's a witness to a serious crime or even real terrorism in action. She might very well ignore it. She might even help them. And why? Because of her hatred toward you and toward all of us. In that seemingly petty nuisance hides a profound atrocity. You are speaking to someone and she turns up the noise, louder, deliberately. The problem runs deeper than you think, and to me as a scientist, it's perfectly clear. A creature like that is fit to commit any crime. Now on to the next. Oh, please, can you repeat a few words on that lowlife yapping about sports and then disappearing for 15 minutes? Just for the mise-en-scene of our viewers. Read it again.
At the bank where he'd arrived early, he was waiting for the guy with whom he had the appointment. This guy was chatting with another client for like 30 minutes, sports, the weather, fashion, restaurants, and then he said he wasn't feeling great because of the weather, so wait for me another 15 minutes, I need a coffee.
Yes, and this one is a perfect example that has, in fact, nothing to do with ethnicity or race. It's universal. Bastards like him can be found in any nation. Russians, Ukrainians, Finns, Americans, the French, Italians, Germans, anyone. The breed of a slug we're dissecting now is pretty common. And the main features of these slugs are the following: a complete lack of culture and basic manners. His parents didn't raise him properly, and now he's beyond the pale of decency. A scurvy mongrel born in a kennel. And the second point, it's all about the inferiority complex. Want to know why? The inutility of his failed existence maddens him to such an extent that the degenerate feels a perpetual tingle to compensate the anguish of his miserable life by causing irritation to everyone else. His utility to you is minimal. You just need an appointment for some technical trifle, but since you need him for that trifle, that makes you somewhat dependent on him, yes, and this slug feels it without even thinking. It's a natural reflex, like, well, now you wait for me. You know why he doesn't care about your time? Because his lifetime is wasted. He doesn't exist. He's a walking piece of fiction, a tiddler, zilch, interchangeable, nobody. These trifle people, these nobodies, they are dangerous, for they are irresponsible, and it's damn near impossible to catch them red-handed. They're like liquid, slipping through your fingers. They could be officials or just IT guys or whatever else, and these wrong place, wrong time fellows form a distinct class of their own, outside all nations and all races. They're everywhere, and from childhood, I have learned to detest them. They must be dragged into the light and expelled from society instantaneously. Take the one we just discussed. Yes, he kept another person hanging around, and sure, there can be a million reasons for a delay, but in this case, there wasn't a single cause, just empty prattle about sports and whatever nonsense. Just think, he didn't even say sorry before strutting off for a cuppa. Not a hint of, oh, beg your pardon, just give me a moment, we'll talk about your business. This prick isn't some big general or a scientist. Scientists are often deep in their thoughts, lost to the world for days. Nothing of the sort. His one and only mission is painfully simple. He's a banking clerk. That's his job. And the top priority of any clerk is to work like a machine. Same rhythm, same key. Otherwise, he's a drag. I don't know what importance this clerk holds for you, but regardless, you must stand up for yourself. If he's about to spring off for another 15-minute coffee break, stop him. Tell him it's inappropriate and that every minute of your schedule counts. You arrived on time and he was still chatting with someone about things completely unrelated to his duties, as the hipsters say, side quest. In that case, you should request a different clerk altogether. Leave a negative review of his service and check his social media. There might be something there worth flagging. Why does it matter? First, you're a man. You're supposed to strike back. That's the strength upon which our civilization was built. Second, you're sanitizing our society, because otherwise he'll go on being a nuisance to others. Don't be selfish and don't spare your effort. Whip him well so next time he'll think twice. So, this isn't just about settling your own score, it's about helping others, the community, and that, in the end, is a genuine service. A blessing, even.